It's hard to justify a new Windows version if the main feature people are talking about is that Start button is at the center of taskbar, and you can choose how to snap windows and corners. Especially as everyone thought that Windows 10 will be the last Windows version. But there is one major change in core Windows beyond cosmetic changes that justifies new version of Windows, and also a new core philosophy that Microsoft employs that fits perfectly with this change. Satya Nadella, as CEO of Microsoft, had a different, more open approach to tech versus Steve Ballmer. Steve used to bash and talk bad about Linux as a competitor, for example, where Satya, having emphasis on cloud, sees the opportunity in open source tech and growing the size of platform of Microsoft technology. While other companies like Google and Apple tries to lock you in a specific ecosystem, Microsoft tries to create more open space, which plays nicely with tech from other companies. And he himself describes it like this: these third-party apps and even app stores are treated like first-class citizens in Windows ecosystem. Actually, to be more open to all platforms and places, Windows should be compatible with ARM. And there was this Windows 10 version specially for ARM called Windows 10X, but it got cancelled. Nevertheless, Windows 11 seems quite similar to available Windows 10X leaks. So speculation is that they thought, why not just include these changes in the next version of Windows and gradually introduce support for other CPU architectures afterwards, both with native and different emulation support. Also, Windows had to prepare for one major change in x86 CPU architecture that was already present in ARM, the big little core paradigm. Reportedly, Intel helped Microsoft to prepare Windows Scheduler for allocating background tasks to smaller cores and main tasks to bigger cores, which is quite tricky as background tasks can turn into main tasks and vice versa. AMD, by the way, will also have this big little type of architecture, but it seems that it will come out after Intel's. It's a bit weird that Windows is supposed to be a corporate workhorse OS, but it promotes more and more these distractions, like these widgets and news, by default full with celebrity news and gossip. You know, just when you need to send in some important documents for work, deadline is approaching, you can just with a few clicks check in with some TikTok videos and the latest gossip on British royal family, for example. But well, at least it also can be all removed with just a few clicks. Anyway, all of this will make Windows more flexible and more friendlier to other platforms. But to make this step easier and move forward, they will have to drop off some load, so they are no longer releasing 32-bit version, which is fine. Even the tiniest ARM chips have 64-bit support these days. But for older computers, this is the end, because you know, they will now have to again support 2 versions of Windows 10 till 2025, and now Windows 11 supposedly indefinitely. So currently only 8th gen core CPUs from Intel and Zen Plus CPUs from AMD are supposed to be supported, because Microsoft wants to push every regular PC user to have TPM chips for security, which are compatible with these generations of CPUs. But it is actually not necessary, as OEMs can build their own little edge and industrial PCs without it. So there is exceptions. So maybe in future it will be possible to get a version that works also on a bit older hardware. So say goodbye to your 3-year-old CPU and say hello to desktop TikTok. Hopefully these changes will make software development for Android and other ARM platforms easier at least. And to lure people into Windows 11, There are some important features for PC gamers like automatical high dynamic range HDR that will artificially enhance games built on DirectX 11 or higher that previously only used standard dynamic range SDR. But for creativity and other general content creation, direct storage is an interesting feature that will allow your GPU to directly access SSD. And again, this feature will only be available on Windows 11. Hopefully we will not need another Windows version if Microsoft changes the start menu placement again. But for now, that's all.